I stood in front of my mother's house, clutching the expensive coffee maker I'd bought her for her birthday. The box was heavy in my arms, and I shifted uncomfortably as I waited for someone to answer the door. $2,000. That's what I'd spent on this gift, hoping it would bridge the gap between us after years of strained relations. Mom had always loved coffee. Every morning when I was growing up, she'd brew a fresh pot while humming softly to herself. It was one of the few warm memories I had left of her, before everything changed. The door swung open, and there was Rick, my stepfather. His face showed a flash of annoyance before he forced a smile. "Emma," he said flatly, "come in." I stepped into what used to be my childhood home, though it was barely recognizable anymore. The familiar furniture my dad had picked out was long gone, replaced with Rick's modern tastes. Even the family photos that once lined the hallway had been replaced with pictures of Rick, my mother, and his 2 daughters. I followed him through the hallway, the weight of the coffee maker growing heavier with each step. The living room was filled with people, some of Mom's friends I vaguely recognized, and of course, my stepsisters, Melissa and Jessica. They were both in college now, though they still lived at home. "Emma," my mother's voice carried across the room as she spotted me. She was wearing an expensive-looking dress, her hair perfectly styled. "You made it." "Happy birthday, Mom," I managed a smile and held out the gift. "I thought you might like this." Her eyes lit up at the sight of the large box, and for a moment, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe this would be the turning point in our relationship. Maybe this expensive gift would finally make her see me as worthy of her attention again. She tore open the wrapping paper eagerly, but as soon as she saw what was inside, her expression changed. Her lips pressed into a thin line of disappointment, and she set the box aside without even opening it. "A coffee maker," she said flatly. "How practical." The room seemed to grow quiet, and I felt everyone's eyes on me. Jessica whispered something to Melissa, and they both smirked. "It's top of the line," I explained, feeling foolish. "It can make any kind of coffee you want, lattes, cappuccinos, everything. I remembered how much you love coffee, so." "Thank you, Emma," she said, but her voice was cold. "Let's have some cake." The rest of the evening was torture. Mom barely spoke to me, though she laughed and chatted with everyone else. I sat in the corner, picking at my cake, wondering why I'd thought things would be different this time. It all started 10 years ago, when I was 19. That's when my whole world fell apart. Dad got sick, cancer, and within 6 months, he was gone. I was devastated, completely lost without him. Dad had always been my rock, the one person who truly understood me. I expected Mom and I would grow closer through our shared grief. Instead, she met Rick just a month after the funeral. Within 6 months, they were married, and Rick and his daughters moved into our house. I was still in college, watching my home transformed into a place I no longer recognized. Every time I walked into a room where Mom, Rick, and the girls were, they'd stop talking. They'd give me these looks, like I was interrupting something important. Mom started spending all her time with her new daughters, taking them shopping, helping with their homework, all the things she used to do with me. "They need me," she'd say whenever I tried to talk to her. "They're adjusting to a new home, a new school." What about me? I wanted to scream. I just lost my dad. Don't I need you too? But I never said it. Instead, I retreated further and further into myself, until finally, I couldn't take it anymore. My grandfather, Dad's father, lived on the other side of the city. He offered me a place to stay, and I jumped at the chance. Living with Grandpa was the best decision I ever made. Yes, it meant a longer commute to college, but I didn't care. For the first time since Dad died, I felt like I had family again. Grandpa understood my pain. He was grieving too, not just for his son, but for the way Mom had so quickly moved on. "Your father would be proud of you," he'd tell me, and those simple words meant everything. I still visited Mom occasionally, but each visit was more painful than the last. The final straw came when she handed me a cardboard box filled with Dad's photos and personal belongings. "We don't need these around anymore," she said. "Rick thinks it's time to move on." That was the moment I knew I'd lost her completely. I took the box back to Grandpa's house, and we spent the evening looking through the photos together, sharing memories of the man we both loved and missed so deeply. After that, my visits became even rarer. I was happy with Grandpa. He became my family, my support, my everything. And for a while, that was enough. I was pulled from my thoughts when I realized the birthday party was winding down. Guests were leaving, offering Mom final birthday wishes and compliments on her home, her dress, her life. I stood up, thinking I should probably leave too. "Emma," Mom called out, "stay a moment, would you? We need to talk." I hesitated, then nodded. Something in her tone made my stomach knot with anxiety. I had no idea what was coming, but somehow, I knew it wouldn't be good. When the last guest had left, Mom turned to me with a look I knew all too well. Rick stood beside her, arms crossed, while Melissa and Jessica lingered nearby with matching smirks. "Emma," Mom said, her voice sharp, "you could have given me something more expensive." I blinked, stunned. "What?" "The coffee maker cost $2,000. They all laughed, as if I'd told a joke. Mom shook her head. "A coffee maker? Seriously? You have all that money from your grandfather, and this is what you get me?" "I thought you'd like it," I said, feeling stupid. "You've always loved coffee." "I'd been dropping hints for months about wanting a diamond necklace," Mom snapped. "But you're too stupid to pick up on them, apparently." Now that she mentioned it, I did remember her talking about a necklace a few times. But I hadn't realized those were hints directed at me. I didn't know. "Save it," Jessica interrupted. "God, you're so dense." Melissa nodded. "We only put up with you because Mom thought we could get money out of you. But you're too greedy to share anything substantial." I looked at Mom, waiting for her to defend me. She didn't. Instead, she nodded in agreement. "You've always been selfish, Emma, ever since you were a child." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I've been giving you money whenever you ask." "Pocket change," Rick scoffed. "Your grandfather left you $400,000 plus his house. You could be more generous with your family. Get out, and don't bother coming back until you're ready to be a real daughter." I left without another word, tears blurring my vision as I drove home. How could I have been so naive? I thought we were rebuilding our relationship, but it had always been about money. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I checked social media and felt my stomach drop. Mom had posted a picture of the coffee maker with the caption, "A useless thing from the most useless and greedy daughter in the world." Her friends had already filled the comments section with support for her and criticism of me. "You deserve better than such a stingy daughter," one wrote. "What a stupid gift," said another. As I scrolled through the hateful comments, my sadness transformed into anger. This was the last straw. For years, I'd let Mom walk all over me, desperate for any scrap of affection, no more. I remembered something Grandpa had mentioned a year before he died, something about Mom and money. It was time to dig into his old files. The next morning, I went to Grandpa's office, a room I'd kept exactly as it was when he was alive. His desk was still covered with neatly organized folders and papers. I started searching through the filing cabinet where he kept important documents. After an hour of searching, I found it, a legal receipt signed by my mother. According to this document, Grandpa had loaned her $150,000 to start her bakery business, with the explicit condition that he could demand repayment at any time. As his heir, that right now belonged to me. I sat back in Grandpa's old leather chair, thinking about what happened after Mom got that loan. It was about a year after I'd moved in with Grandpa. Mom had shown up one day, barely acknowledging me before asking to speak with him privately. They were in his office for over an hour. "What did Mom want?" I'd asked when she left without saying goodbye. "She needed money to start a business," Grandpa explained, looking troubled. "I agreed to loan her $150,000, but only if she signed a legal document promising to repay it when requested." "You're giving her money? After how she's treated us?" "Emma," he said gently, "I'm still her father-in-law. And this way, I have some leverage if we ever need it. I didn't understand what he meant then, but I do now. Grandpa was always thinking ahead. After getting the money, Mom opened a bakery in a busy part of town. It did well, and soon she was flaunting her success on social media, posting pictures of her new car, fancy vacations with Rick and the girls, always with captions about being a self-made businesswoman. Then, just after my college graduation, Grandpa had a massive heart attack. He was gone before I could even get to the hospital to say goodbye. I was devastated, completely lost without him. He'd been my rock for 4 years, the only real family I had left. According to his will, everything he owned, the house and $400,000 in savings, went to me. I wasn't surprised. What did surprise me was Mom showing up at the house the day after the funeral, demanding her fair share of the inheritance. I refused. We argued. She called me selfish and ungrateful. I told her she had no right to Grandpa's money after the way she'd erased Dad from her life. She left in a fury, and we didn't speak for 3 years. During that time, I settled into a comfortable life. I had a good job in marketing, lived in Grandpa's paid-off house, and had his savings wisely invested. I wasn't rich, but I was secure and independent. Then last Christmas, in a moment of seasonal weakness, I reached out to Mom with a simple holiday text. To my surprise, she responded warmly and invited me to a Christmas gathering. Foolishly believing in the spirit of reconciliation, I bought gifts for everyone and went. Mom seemed genuinely happy to see me. We exchanged presents, had dinner, and for the first time in years, I felt like maybe we could have some kind of relationship again. A month later, she called asking for $10,000. The equipment in her bakery had broken down, she explained, and all work had stopped. Without thinking, I transferred the money to her account. "You're a lifesaver, Emma," she said. "I knew I could count on you." That was the beginning. Small requests followed: $2,000 for Jessica's tuition payment, $3,000 for unexpected tax bills, $1,500 for repairs to their house. Each time, I gave without asking for repayment, happy to help and hoping it would strengthen our fragile reconnection. What a fool I'd been. With the receipt in hand, I picked up my phone and called Mr. Peterson, Grandpa's lawyer and friend. "Emma," he greeted warmly, "it's been too long, how are you?" "I need your advice," I said, explaining the situation with Mom and the loan. "Yes, I remember drafting that agreement," he said. "As your grandfather's heir, you have every legal right to demand repayment. Would you like me to handle this for you?" "Yes," I said firmly, "I would." The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I made myself a cup of coffee and smiled at the irony Mom had sneered at my gift, but I actually loved my own coffee maker. I called Mr. Peterson again to confirm the details of our plan. After we hung up, I went shopping for a small gift box, one that might hold a jewelry box. Perfect for a diamond necklace. I made a copy of the loan receipt, folded it neatly, and placed it inside the box along with a handwritten note: payment in full due within 30 days. Before sending it, I texted Mom, "I felt bad about yesterday. I'm sending another gift your way, something I think you'll appreciate more than the coffee maker." Her reply came immediately: "I hope it's the diamond necklace I've been hinting at." I smiled to myself, it's definitely a surprise you won't forget. I called a courier service for same-day delivery and tracked the package on my phone. When it showed delivered, I waited, and waited. 30 minutes later, my phone exploded with notifications. Mom was calling nonstop. I declined each call, watching as the count reached 10, 15, 20 calls. Then the texts started coming. "Emma, call me now. This isn't funny, you can't do this to me, answer your damn phone." I let her stew for a full hour before finally answering on the 31st call. "How dare you," she screamed before I could even say hello, "you have no right to demand that money back." "Actually, I do," I replied calmly, "I've already spoken with Mr. Peterson. As Grandpa's heir, I've inherited all his assets and obligations, including your debt to him. That was between me and your grandfather. Not legally, the receipt clearly states the loan is repayable on demand to him or his heir. I am his heir. I don't have that kind of money just lying around, her voice cracked. The bakery isn't doing that well, we've been struggling. That's not my problem, you have 30 days. Emma, please, her tone changed completely, becoming soft and pleading. I'm sorry about the coffee maker comment. I was just disappointed. You know how I get when I drink too much. I took down that stupid social media post. This isn't about the post, Mom, or the coffee maker. I paused. This is about 10 years of you choosing everyone else over me. This is about you erasing Dad from your life 6 months after he died. This is about you treating me like an ATM while calling me greedy. She was quiet for a moment. What do you want, Emma? An apology? Fine, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have moved on so quickly after your father died. I shouldn't have let Rick change everything, I shouldn't have pushed you away. I don't want your apology, I want the $150,000, you have 30 days. Over the next 2 weeks, Mom tried everything. She called, texted, and emailed constantly. When I blocked her number, she started showing up at my house. I never answered the door. Once, I watched through the window as she stood on my porch for almost an hour, alternating between knocking and sitting on the steps with her head in her hands. Rick called my work and tried to speak to me there, but I had security escort him out. Melissa and Jessica sent nasty texts from new numbers when I blocked their regular ones. They called me heartless, cruel, a terrible daughter. I saved every message as evidence of harassment, just in case. Mom even sent some of her friends to plead her case. One of them, her best friend Susan, caught me in the grocery store parking lot. You're destroying your mother, she said. She might lose everything, the bakery, their house. That's not my concern, I replied, loading my groceries into my car. How can you be so cold? She's your mother. I looked at her directly. Where was this concern when she was posting about what a useless, greedy daughter I am? Where were you when she kicked me out of her life after my dad died? When she moved my stepsisters into my childhood bedroom? When she threw away all traces of my father? Susan had no answer for that, she just shook her head and walked away. 3 weeks after I sent the gift box, Mr. Peterson called me. Your mother has contacted me, he said. She's arranged for a loan to repay the full amount. We're meeting tomorrow to complete the transaction. Do you want to be present? I thought about it. Yes, I want to be there. The next day, I met Mom at Mr. Peterson's office. She looked terrible, pale, with dark circles under her eyes. For a moment, I felt a twinge of regret, but then I remembered her laughing face as she mocked my gift, the cruel caption on her social media post, the years of neglect. Mom barely looked at me as she signed the papers and handed over a cashier's check for $150,000. Mr. Peterson verified everything and nodded to me. This concludes our business, he said formally. As we stood to leave, Mom finally spoke directly to me. I hope you're happy now, she said, her voice flat. You've ruined us, just like you always wanted. I never wanted to ruin you, Mom, I said quietly. I just wanted you to love me the way you loved your new family. You know what? She laughed bitterly. For years, I told myself I was a good mother to you. That you were the problem, too sensitive, too clingy, too much like your father. But looking at you now, I can see him in you. That same stubborn pride, that refusal to back down. She shook her head. You're a terrible daughter, Emma. But I guess I wasn't much of a mother, either. She walked out without waiting for my response. I stood there, feeling strangely empty. This wasn't the closure I'd imagined. There was no satisfaction, no sense of triumph, just a hollow feeling where my anger had been. Are you all right? Mr. Peterson asked. I nodded. I will be. As I drove home, I wondered if I'd done the right thing. The money wasn't really the point, it was about making her feel a fraction of the pain she'd caused me. Had I stooped to her level? Maybe. But for the first time in years, I felt like I'd taken control of my own story. A month passed. I threw myself into work, barely thinking about Mom and her family. Their problems were no longer my concern. Still, curiosity got the better of me, and I found myself checking her social media one evening. Her once active accounts had gone quiet. The last post was from 2 weeks ago, a simple for sale sign in front of her bakery. I felt a surge of satisfaction. Actions have consequences, and Mom was finally facing hers. I closed the browser and poured myself a glass of wine to celebrate my newfound freedom. My phone rang. It was Lisa, my colleague from work. "You won't believe who I just saw working at Burton's department store," she said without preamble. "Who?" "Your stepsister, the younger one, Jessica, right?" I smiled to myself. "Jessica? Are you sure?" "Positive." She was folding sweaters in the women's section, looked miserable. I thanked Lisa for the information and hung up. So they really were struggling. Good, the loan repayment had hit them exactly as they deserved. A week later, I needed to pick up some groceries. As I turned down the cereal aisle, I saw her, Melissa, the older stepsister, stocking shelves in a supermarket uniform. She saw me too. Our eyes met briefly before she quickly disappeared into the stockroom. I finished my shopping without hurry. As I loaded my bags into my car, I noticed someone watching me from across the parking lot. It was Melissa, smoking a cigarette on her break. When she saw me looking, she dropped the cigarette and stormed over. "Happy now?" she asked, her voice hard but trembling slightly. "Actually, yes," I replied calmly, "I am. Yeah, well, this is my life now, thanks to you." She gestured at her uniform. "I had to drop out of college, we both did. Mom and Rick can't afford tuition anymore, not after paying back your grandfather's loan." "Let's be honest here," I said, crossing my arms. "For years, you, Jessica, and your dad treated me like I was nothing. You three moved into my childhood home and erased every trace of my father within months of his death." Melissa shifted uncomfortably. "That wasn't our fault, that was Mom and Dad's decision." "And what about at the birthday party? Jessica literally said you only reconciled with me to get money. You called me greedy for giving a $2,000 gift instead of diamonds." I laughed. "You saw me as your personal ATM, nothing more." Melissa fell silent, unable to counter my points. "You never saw me as family," I continued, "you saw me as a cash cow." "Well, the cow decided to stop giving milk, deal with it." She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing without words. "I have to get back to work," she finally mumbled, turning away. "Good luck with those shelves," I called after her. I got into my car feeling lighter than I had in years. No guilt, no regret, just the satisfaction of finally standing up for myself. 2 days later, I drove by the bakery. The for sale sign was still there, but now there was a sold sticker across it. On impulse, I parked and went to the coffee shop next door. The barista knew me. I'd been there when Mom first opened her business. "Shame about Sweet Dreams Bakery, isn't it?" she said as she handed me my coffee. "Things don't always work out," I replied neutrally. "Between you and me," she leaned closer, "I think she bit off more than she could chew. Started too big, took on too much debt. That's what happens when people try to live beyond their means, you know?" I nodded and took my coffee to a table by the window. The barista's words confirmed what I'd suspected. Mom had always been image conscious, always wanting to appear successful. The fancy car, the lavish vacations, the designer clothes, all while apparently struggling to keep the business afloat. Had the $10,000 I gave her for broken equipment even gone to the bakery at all? Probably not. The next weekend, I decided to take some time off work. I deserved a break, a celebration of my victory and newfound independence. I booked a 2-week vacation to the coast, a small cottage right on the beach. As I packed my bags, I felt exhilarated by the possibilities ahead of me. The cottage was perfect, simple, quiet, with nothing but the sound of waves to keep me company. I spent my days walking on the beach, reading books I'd been putting off, and enjoying my freedom. No more manipulation, no more guilt trips, no more being used for my money. On my last day at the beach, I got a text from an unknown number. "It's Jessica." Melissa told me she saw you. Just wanted you to know Mom's been drinking a lot. Talking about you, not good stuff. Stay away from her if you know what's good for you. I deleted the message without responding. Their problems weren't my concern anymore. When I returned home, there was a letter in my mailbox, formal stationery, no return address. Inside was a note in Mom's handwriting. Emma, I don't forgive you for what you did. You chose money over family, just like I once chose a new family over you. Maybe we deserve each other. Don't contact us again, we'll manage without your charity or your cruelty, Mom. I read the note twice, then tore it into tiny pieces and dropped them in the trash. No more emotional manipulation. No more guilt. I was done with all of it. Life got better. I went back to work with renewed energy, started dating again, joined a book club, and even began planning a trip abroad, something I'd always wanted to do but had put off. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Mom and Rick were still together but struggling. The girls were both working full-time, their college dreams on hold indefinitely. I felt not a shred of guilt. They had made their choices, just as I had made mine. They chose to treat me like an outsider, to erase my father's memory, to use me for my money. I chose to demand what was legally mine and cut toxic people from my life. I don't know if we'll ever speak again, and honestly, I don't care. Some people aren't worth keeping in your life, even if they're family. Especially if they're family who treat you like nothing more than a bank account,